ready because, believe it or not, the postseason right around the corner. And one guy that is looking to make waves, certainly. Again, the intro was one of the youngest, most talented coaches in all of the area, a guy that has brought such tradition back to the South Range basketball program. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, he's got his team at the top of the rankings in the NE8 with a perfect 8-0 record. Mr. Pat Carden. What's up, PC?
What's going on, DJ? How are you?
I'm well. Not as good as you are, man. 13-2 overall, 8-0 in what I think is a very competitive, always competitive NE8. How did we get here? I mean, when people think about South Range, they think about football. They think about baseball. They think about softball. They don't necessarily think about hoops. How did you bring this program back to what used to be a prominent program and is once again because of you?
Yeah, when we came in last year, we were very fortunate. We got great players, especially with Landon there, setting the single season scoring record, second most points in boys history. And we had a great group of juniors around him last year that are now seniors. 6 of them lettered last year as juniors. We have 7 seniors this year because Graham came back and joined us, and what a fantastic addition he's been. And just all, we talk about Luke stepped up, and a lot of football guys. And those football guys have probably won in the last 4 years, maybe 50 football games. So they just had a ton of success in everything they do. It's just an easy group to coach. It's a fun group to coach, and they want to win.
I guess the next question is, we talk about those football guys transitioning over to basketball. How do you do that? I mean, because usually it's a long season for those football guys, and then they've got to get into what we call basketball shape, right? And that takes a while to do because they're going to lose a couple pounds of muscle because it's a lot more running. It's a lot more, different muscles, different scheduling, different all kinds of stuff that you got to prepare yourself from one sport to the next. But these guys are contact first guys. Even the quarterback, Tristan Toy, one of your key contributors and obviously a senior, a guy that you have developed plays, I believe, in my heart of hearts watching this, plays for him to be a quarterback on the basketball court. What is it like to have so many football players and successful football players transition over to basketball year in and year out?
Yeah, we love to have that toughness with them guys. They bring kind of a level of toughness to our basketball team that maybe the guys who are on the football team don't have. And then it kind of transitions over. A lot of that with them coming in, late in the season is just them trusting us that we're going to get them into the shape they need to be in. And it's a process, right? It's not going to happen overnight. I think you saw that early in the season where we kind of fell off with Boardman on a back-to-back on our first games. And, Boardman was really rolling. They're playing great basketball, and we're coming in, 6 days of practice off of our first game. And, we were able to kind of see that in that day. But, we're to the point in the season, I think by Christmas break, where we really started to hit our stride. Guys got their legs back. Our practices kind of scaled down a little bit in terms of their length. Everything is kind of put in. And now we're just focusing on staying healthy and fine-tuning the ship and, getting ready to roll into the tournament here.
I'm really impressed because at the beginning of the season, it looked like you guys were, to kind of echo your words, getting your legs, but you were doing it and you're still winning. And the shots weren't necessarily falling, but you were figuring out ways to win throughout the contest, making those adjustments at halftime and throughout the game, really, because you are a student of the game. You've been around sports your entire life. Obviously, your dad and family, a big part of that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But, to be able to win games the way you draw them up now, for the most part, I would assume, how different is now and going into film study and drawing up your game plan prior to the game, as opposed to really kind of drawing in the sand as those games were in the waning moments and still up in the air?
Yeah, I think early on in the season, we went to Luke a lot. He was the guy, and Graham. Those are the guys that were with us in the fall. So really kind of going to them. We play a lot of guys. We play about 11 guys consistently. So kind of transitioning into their legs, that was easy for them early on in the season. And now we're focusing more on running our sets and executing things that we need to execute to the best of our ability. It's not just about being the athletes anymore that we are. So we're still working on getting guys in the right positions, which sets work best for us, what kind of shot opportunities we want to look for. And our guys just do a great job of that, and they're really focusing in. And I think they're excited for the task that's at hand and the next couple games coming up.
I've been really impressed with the progression of not just your offense, but the consistency of your defense. I mean, you're not just trying to outscore people, you're trying to keep them off the scoreboard, which is very challenging to do, excel in both assets or aspects rather of high school basketball. But, you said going to Graham and Luke in the early going, and to see the progression of what Luke has been able to do, not just this year, but over the past few years, he's gone from being just a straight shooter to being a guy that can really invigorate this offense by doing other things and driving to the hoop and kicking it out. What does it mean to have a guy like that that's dedicated to basketball as much as Luke Rowan has been for so many years? And this is his moment to really step up and shine.
Yeah, for him, he's put in a lot of time. He's playing AAU. He does individual workouts kind of on his own with Coach O'Hara. He does some stuff with him. And, Luke we talked when we first came in that was going to be a next step of his game. Yeah, you could shoot it. Everyone knows you can shoot it. Are you going to be able to get to the rim? I don't think necessarily he did a great job of that last year. He didn't really have to. Landon was in there where Landon drew so many eyes that Luke was able to get the open shots. So one thing that we had to get creative with this year was different ways to get him the ball, get him shot opportunities that are going to be good for him. And, so far we've done a pretty good job of that. And Luke's done a great job of kind of buying into that. And, he hasn't been shooting it the best the last couple games, but he's still scoring about 20 a game just by getting in the paint, getting layups, which, huge transition in his game.
I mean, the team concept seems to be all in for South Range right now. Everybody's bought in. It's easy to do that, obviously, when you're winning. How do you keep these guys focused on the task at hand on just each individual night as opposed to looking down the road? For instance, you got a huge game coming up tomorrow against Hubbard. How do you keep things just on Hubbard for tomorrow night and not looking down the road and saying, hey, if we win this game and this game and this game, then, we get a nice seed coming up next Saturday?
Yeah, we always talk about the tournament. That's always on our mind, but we also got to look at World League first. We want to get an NE8 championship. Last year, we missed out on that by a game. And I think that's kind of what keeps our guys focused. They understand that, if you come in a night and you don't show up, that you're going to get beat by anyone in the NE8. So we're kind of focusing in on that, and we're taking those games to heart. And, we're playing hard night in and night out. And, I've just been extremely happy and extremely proud of them this year, the way they do that every night.
Now, in high school, obviously, there's a lot of waves. There's the ebbs and flows. It's very cyclical. For South Range across the board, there's been a lot of winning in the last 4 years, 5 years, seemingly the last decade or so. When you look at what is to come, what I've been able to see is there's another wave right behind this group of seniors that's coming up that's going to make a lot of noise. I mean, you looked at that, obviously, when you walked in. When you interviewed for the job, you saw kind of the foundational aspect that South Range has built over the years and understand that it is just going to be a reloading as opposed to rebuilding year after year. How is that from a comfort level for you? Obviously, you want to get the most out of them, but knowing that there is a seriousness taken at the very foundational level, and I'm talking kindergarten all the way up, and how important is it for you to be a part of that on every stage along the way?
Yeah, that was one thing when I first got hired. That was when I go into the interview process. I talked a lot about the youth program, being involved with our junior high, and I think we have a lot of great years ahead of us, and it's going to be spearheaded by Nick Toy and Tommy Titus as freshmen. They've really stepped up in a big way this year. And I think we have a ton of sophomores that could be playing on a lot of teams in the area. And unfortunately for them, they're not getting the exposure and the playing time maybe that they want to. But they're working hard every day competing against, our varsity team, who's obviously having a great season. So they're still getting better every day. Our JV team is a ton of fun. They have so much fun on the bench and playing with each other. then we just kind of look down the road. Like our 7th and 8th grade, our 7th grade class is really, really good. There's a lot of potential down there. And I'm in their practices a lot. I go down, it's just right down the hall. So I walk from one gym to the next. I try and make my way in there as much as possible, see those guys, make a connection with them. And our 7th and 8th grade coaches do the same thing. They come back into the varsity gym. They watch us practice. If I head the other direction, walk past the lunchroom, and then I go down to the elementary school gym, our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders are practicing down there. I'm trying to stop in on there. We have our youth night coming up in about 2 weeks when we play Girard at home. So that was one that got canceled, and we're excited for that. I love having those guys in our gym, and we're really just trying to build that culture and keep it going here to have years of sustained success, not just with the great groups that we have now. We want to create those groups so they keep coming to us.
As good as wins are, and they are good, what impresses me the most about you, about your program, about just your aura is the fact that I look down at girls' games and you are sitting there literally front row and, giving your insight, watching the other gender play basketball, supporting Fischel in that program as well. And what's cool is Coach Fish does the same thing for you. You always see him at the boys' games and getting excited and giving his 2 cents, whether you want it or not. It's just, what is it about that? I mean, it feels like there's a great connection between you and Fischel. It feels like that you're incredibly supportive, not only of the other sport of, the girls basketball side of things, but I've seen you at football games and volleyball games. I mean, you're supportive of the entire community. Why is that so important to you?
Yeah, and again, going back to like when I stepped in, I said, I want to really kind of indulge myself into their community and into the sports. And Coach Fish was one of the most supportive people of me when I got hired. Met with him right away, kind of talked about what I need, anything like that. So I love supporting them, and just showing my face and always being there. Like I said, I'm in the 7th and 8th grade games. Those are kids that we try and talk about being one program. It's not like the 7th and 8th grade team. It's still our South Range basketball program. They are wearing the jersey with the name on the front. Everything they do still represents our high school program. And, football games, we're supporting those kids. We want to have multi-sport athletes. Like I said, those football guys are instrumental to us. So I'm there supporting them in any way I can. I'll go to baseball games, track meets, if anything to see our guys succeed. I just love being a part of it. And, I've had great support, and everyone has been super encouraging and great since I've gotten there, from the administration to your everyday supporters.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and figure that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I've known your dad since YSN was created, essentially. And you've been around sports just as long, if not probably longer than I have. And certainly your dad, I'm guessing your family being a big part of that. Talk to me about what your family means to you, what you've learned along the way, and how you're trying to implement it in your own life right now.
Yeah, I still talk to my dad, daily about different stuff. I call him on my way home from practice almost every day and talk to him. He's at every game. He's on the scorebook for some games if he has to be. So he loves being involved in seeing any kind of success that we have. So he's been a great part of it. My mom's a huge support. And then, my poor wife doesn't see me for 3 months. I'm pretty much in tunnel vision here. She just called herself the other day a single dog mom, because I'm at the gym. I leave after school and I'm there most nights until like 8:00, and then I come home and you kind of eat dinner, get ready for the next day, and that's it. It's on to the next. So she puts up with a lot and kind of holds the fort down. And luckily we don't have children yet, so I'm not getting yelled at for not being home for them yet. But eventually down the road we'll get there. And I hope to bring those kids into the gym. Like you said, I was around it with my dad, and I would love to be able to have my kids in the gym and see the relationships they could build with the high school kids. And because there's kids that my dad coached in the early 2000s that, I still talk to daily, and, we talk their stories, and they talk about me running around and punching them where the sun doesn't shine and things like that.
Oh, we got to get to that story next time. I do think that it's one of the coolest things that I've seen. And I love whenever there's that interaction between you and your dad. But I have a vantage point like no other because I look down and I see your dad kind of seek you out, know exactly where you sit, sits right next to you, and you guys just have a conversation. It's that father son relationship that really everybody longs for. Super happy that you have that with your dad because he is a soul of the earth guy, one of the best people, one of the best ADs that there ever has been. So for you to follow in those footsteps and fill those shoes, my friend, and you're doing it very well. Kudos to you, kudos to your family for doing that. And by God, thank you for coaches' wives like yours, Pat. Because my wife's in the same boat. I know where you're sitting because you're no pun intended. You're in the doghouse a lot more than you're not on nights like that, and especially these 3 months that you're battling through. So we can certainly empathize with you. Being that you're in some kind of library right now, I got to ask because the books in the background are kind of giving me this final question. What books and motivational tools have you used for your own personal life or for your professional life as you step into the coaching realm to keep you going? Is there anything out there that you've really read and you thought to yourself, hey, I've got to implement this right now?
Yeah, I've read a lot of different books. I am big on that, of reading books about coaching. Lately, I've been big on coaching podcasts. I listened to one, Rising Coaches podcast. It's by Doug Caputo as a host, a local guy. So I listened to his, and I listened to a couple other ones that kind of talk about they talk to different basketball coaches about different things they experience in their program. And, I kind of take everything I learned in that and see how I can put it into our program and make myself a better coach, make our program better, just be a better person. Anything I can do to help our athletes and help our community is what I want to do.
Pat, we appreciate you, man. I don't throw the love around nearly enough your way, but hopefully that changes because love having you on, love talking to you before, during, after games, and I love the fact that you saved our tails with the huddle cam over the past week, man. Thank you so much. There's so many people that aren't yelling at me anymore, so thank you for that. Thank you for all you do for the community and for the game of basketball here in the area, man. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, DJ. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, Pat Carden. There he goes. And when you talk about Pat Carden, you can't help but think about what he's literally giving to the game right now. I mean, he is one of the younger coaches in the entire area, and he is one of the best coaches in the entire area, and he does it day in, day out. And I mean, you heard the sacrifice he makes. He's sleeping on the couch a lot, like yours truly, because he mentioned when he has kids, God willing, when that young man has kids, he's going to be in that same doghouse that I'm in because, yes, single mom, it is tough. It is tough. But I'm sure he's got a lovely wife at home that does a great job, just like mine. Right? Right, babe? Right? Pat, appreciate you so much. Thanks for stopping by. We move on to the next guest here on YSN Live. And you want to talk about an absolute dog. 31 points last night.